Wednesday, August 4th, the city of Newport Richey held its regular city council meeting. But not only were they there were other members of the community that came to speak to the city council board members and speak up for community leaders. Nina Boneta, which is the leader of the Black Lives Matter Pasco organization. And they also came to speak on behalf of Marlo Jones, president of Pasco Young Revolutionaries. If you all do not know and been living under a rock here in Pasco County, there has been a lot going down. So I'm going to start from the beginning, then I'm going to show you how your community has stepped up and spoken out for these people. And they show people that spoke. Dan Callahan, which is a very active member of Pasco County, very long-standing active member in Pasco County. He serves on several boards, including the African American Club of Pasco County, amongst other boards. So he's very well known in the community, and he's very well known for speaking up for Black lives. One in particular, Marlo Jones, because he's known him for so long. So when Dan heard about what happened, when I tell you he got down there so quick, he put out an email so quick, and a lot of people, I believe, were there in attendance because of the moves that he made. So Nina Borders, Pasco Pride, she came out and she spoke very passionately about, the issues and everything. So what she said was really touching, really moving. There were also a lot of eyewitnesses that were there protesting, and they got up as well and shared. And so that was really, really touching to see all of that go down. So basically, the reason why all of these people felt the need to get up and speak on behalf of Nina Boneta and Marlo Jones is because they've been peacefully protesting every Friday in downtown Newport Richey. And so all of the protests have been very peaceful. However, the last two is just completely gone bananas. And so what happened was on Friday, July 24th, Black Lives Matter Pasco came down to Newport Richey downtown like they always do to protest. And there was this white guy agitator. He was at first on his motorcycle riding around them. One was the assault that happened on Nina Boneta on July 24th, that Friday. And so what basically went down was, as they were going their route, there was a white guy on a motorcycle that continued to circle and harass them, and now a lot of profanity and stuff like that. And so it escalated over time, where he eventually got off of his bike and started jumping into the protesters' face. And you can literally see people shielding, some of the protesters shielding, because he was mainly trying to get into the women's face. And so when he jumped into Nina's face, create a distance between him and her, basically shielding themselves, shielding her with their bodies. The situation escalated. So that went down. And so then next thing the police got involved. They ended up detaining, a few of the protesters, but no one got arrested. And so fast forward a week later, which was Friday, July 31st, they're out there again protesting. And one of the protesters was arrested. And when word got around to others, they went to go check on that person. And at that time, Marlo Jones, president of Pasco Young Revolutionaries, was in attendance and a part of the protest. And when they saw that he was there, the protesters even said they could hear the police say, hey, go get Marlo. That's that Marlo guy. Go get the black guy. Go get him. And so they all bum rush, come out there, get him. And so immediately, other eyewitnesses began to record because they've taken him behind this gate. They've built this big human barricade to block, them from seeing what was happening, but you can literally hear, Marlo yelling out, call my mom, call my grandmother, you're hurting me, sir. You can hear him, and it's like really heartbreaking. It's what brings us to why so many people showed up to the city council meeting on yesterday. And here's what they had to say. Check this out.
Any behavior on Marlo Jones' part that would warrant charges of battery on a law enforcement officer, obstruction, or resisting arrest without violence, as Marlo stopped a drunken white man who had punched two of the Black Lives Matter protesters. Was the forceful attack on Marlo Jones as he approached the police station to report a possible kidnapping of a Black Lives protester in an unmarked vehicle. That should sound familiar. It sounds like federal stormtroopers in Portland. Was that done with the approval of the chief of police, or is he not informed? Are these bogus charges and focused aggression toward Marlo Jones a concerted attempt to destroy the Black Lives Matter constitutional rights to peaceful assembly and dissent? Does the chief of police defend the actions of his cowardly officers who appear to have not just a bias, but a fear of black men like Marlo Jones? Is the chief of police not aware that nationwide, over 600 law enforcement agencies, including the Newport Richey Police, are being studied by Campaign Zero on policies to de-escalate, not escalate violence between citizens and cops? Why would a Newport Richey policeman focus on the person, Marlo Jones, stopping a drunken attacker who had just committed felony assault on two peaceful protesters, rather than the person actually committing crimes, who happened to be white? Does the chief of police employ every means of screening new officers to ensure they are not bigoted, not cowardly, not involved with groups espousing not just white supremacy, but white privilege, and not fearful of black men? Do you still have confidence that Chief of Police Bogart is in charge of his police officers, or is he complicit in the efforts to destroy not only Black Lives Matter in Newport Richey, but the life of the community leader, Marlo Jones? Finally, have you read the cowardly, frightened initial report of the policeman who, in his own words, considered a tap on his shoulder to be battery on a law enforcement officer, and Marlo's efforts to stop a felony attack and his reaction to having a wrist grab amounted to obstruction or resisting arrest without violence? I think a better description of the so-called crime is being black and a leader protecting others without violence, including the frightened policeman who attacked him on two different occasions.
Leaders and organizers of Black Lives Matter Pasco, and I'm here to honestly bring light to the Newport Richey Police Department. I'm here to demand justice for two peaceful protesters, Marlo Jones and Stephanie Hinkle, who were targeted and arrested by the Newport Richey Police on Friday, July 31st. Prior to this arrest, a week prior, which would be July 24th, I was peacefully protesting along with Marlo and Stephanie when an angry white man had started attacking our group. During this time, the man punched me and also did his best to take me to the ground to continue to assault me. That's when Marlo Jones and Stephanie Hinkle came to my defense. When the Newport Richey police came on the scene, they did not ask if I was okay or if I was hurt. They did not take a statement, and they did not ask if I wanted to press charges. I do not feel the Newport Richey Police Department treat people of color the same as others. I feel if I was a white woman, people would have had empathy and would have at least been upset that a woman was attacked. As a black woman, it breaks my heart knowing I am looked at different. The worst part of this all is the Newport Richey Police used the attack on me to target and arrest Marlo and Stephanie that next Friday, which was July 31st. The charges against Marlo are 100% false. These charges against him that he ever assaulted a police officer are 100% false. They marked Marlo by saying he assaulted a police officer. Now, anytime if he gets pulled over for a traffic stop, they're gonna pull up his record and see that he supposedly assaulted a police officer, and how do you think they're gonna handle him now? It could result in death for Marlo now. These charges must be dropped and removed. I am heartbroken and disgusted with the New Port Richey Police Department and how they treat people of color and the people involved with Black Lives Matter. And you should be too. I was not treated like a victim. That is what my whole group was, a victim of an outraged white man that wanted to harm us for peacefully protesting. What the New Port Richey Police did was wrong and disgusting. And the reason Black people why we don't trust police. Marlo Jones and Stephanie Hinkle if they did not come to my rescue, who knows what would have happened to me. I am ashamed on how the New Port Richey Police treated Marlo Jones, who never assaulted the police. This is why we say defund the police. They ruin people's lives. I will no longer stand for this, and I hope y'all won't either.
My name is Caitlin, and I'm here to also demand that the city drop charges against Marlo and Miu, whose legal name is Stephanie. Okay, so we have been demonstrating every Friday on Main Street since May 30th, and every Friday the police show up there to our location first. They beat us there, and if you were to ask why, they would say that they do it for our protection. That is why they would show up. They said it's for our protection because you know how people in this area can be. So, we have been harassed, we've been threatened, we've been stalked, we've even had a man brandish a firearm and cock it, and now we've been full-on assaulted. And rather than helping us as they say they're supposed to do, while they're there, they are now trying to trump up charges, false charges against protesters, okay? Okay, so we were assaulted by a drunk white man. He had yelled "White Lives Matter" at us. The detective had viewed the footage and found him to be at fault. He was arrested. Fast forward, next week, when that happened, a protester was briefly detained to investigate the validity of their CCW, which was valid, and they were let go, and then arrested a week later with no warrant on felony charges. Marlo, who is a known activist in this area, was also booked a week later for, quote, lightly touching an officer's shoulder to get their attention. That is what they're considering to be assault, touching an officer's shoulder lightly. And then if he was so threatened, why was it that he waited an entire week to press these charges? And why was there no warrant for either of their arrests a whole entire week later? Okay, so the police are trying to infringe on our rights. They're trying to tack on felony charges in an attempt to intimidate us, in an attempt to disarm protesters, which is against the Second Amendment, and they didn't have a warrant, which is against the Fourth, and then they are trying to infringe on our rights and intimidate us to keep us from speaking out, and it's not going to work. Okay, the night of the assault, only one detective had a body cam, and had we not been recording, we may not have been able to catch this gross miscarriage of justice. That is why I am calling for every officer in the New Port Richey Department to please have to be required to wear a body cam, and for every person, or for the people to actually have access to this footage ASAP, and not 4 years later, like PSO did with Jerry Brown. These vengeful officers are mad because we refused to give them a photo op. We wouldn't shake their hand for the camera while they gunned down black people in the street. Jerry Brown was given seconds to comply, mere seconds to comply with PSO. And for the board, we all see you. We see your social media. We see what you're doing, okay? The casual racism has got to stop. Thank you.
Nina Borders, B-O-R-D-E-R-S. My address is hidden because I'm a current firefighter paramedic, but if you guys want that, I can provide that to the City Council privately. I am the current president of Pasco Pride, and currently I have taken up the Black Lives Matter movement due to the injustices on July 31st. So I am directly here to hold NPR PD accountable. If you wanted your leader, Chief Bogart, you found her. They held these two individuals unconstitutionally. They violated their Fourth Amendment right. These are two peaceful protesters, which means PD, using the same basis in which they used to pick up these two people, could have arrested me walking down the street. They could have ruined my career. They could have ruined anybody's career, and they need to be held accountable. And you are the one to do it. You are the individuals that hold police accountable. You are the ones that police the police. So I'm calling for a few things that I want from the city council as a whole. Right now, I would like an internal investigation opened, and I would like that report to be made public. And the internal investigation is in regards to the violation of the constitutional rights in which these two people were picked up and obtained and then jailed. I'm beyond angry at this, because I expected so much more of everybody here, everybody in the back. I expected so much more. I would like you guys to introduce the duty to intervene, because I do believe there are good cops in this room. And I think that they need to hold the cops that are racist, the cops that are violating people's rights accountable. Because in the fire department, that's what we do. If there's a bad firefighter, if there's a bad medic, we hold them accountable so that no lives are lost. That is how we operate. And I do want increased training for them. I want increased racial bias and cultural competency training for these LEOs. They need to know the community in which they serve. They need to know the people in which they're dealing with. And I think these de-escalation tactics, wholeheartedly, you'll see them pay back in the community. You'll have less violence, less confrontations. Please, I am begging you to open up an internal investigation on this. And if I need to go down to HR and file it, if I need to go to whoever, you let me know, and I will do it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Ford.
Can you guys hear me? My name is, I would like to not state my address, please. Good evening. My name is Ashley.
Has her time started?
It has.
Has my time started?
Yours is over. Thank you.
You need your name and
My name is
address
I'll start
Ashley
over.
Slater.
for the record.
For the record, please.
Okay, my name.
Thank you.
Reclaim your time.
Can I reclaim my time,
I've
please?
already reclaimed it. Whenever you start speaking, I'll start.
So, I was present during the altercation that occurred on Friday, July 24th behind the social on Main Street while we were peacefully protesting. I would like to say that within the almost 3 years that I've lived here now, that I've never seen with my own eyes such a lack of compassion from the Newport Richey and Pasco police departments for their citizens. While peacefully protesting, like we have been since we started, I'm sure you all know that, we haven't caused any damage to properties or anything like that, any harm to people. Sorry. We were harassed by a violent drunk man who disregarded social distancing, forced his body into, and then ultimately assaulted us. I witnessed a woman of color, along with several other women, being violated, and not one time did the police on site ask if any of the women were present were okay. Not one officer asked if any of us were hurt or felt like we were in danger. Not one officer even offered to call an EMT or anything of that nature for us after we had been in danger, clearly. This shows major lack of compassion, not only for the citizens who were there exercising our First Amendment right, but especially for women, and more importantly, the women of color that were present. As for Marlo's arrest that happened this past Friday on 7/31, I was not present at that time, but I will say that the chief of police knows for a fact that Marlo is a well-known activist in this area, and he has done nothing but be polite and friendly to the police that have been present at our actions, every single time. He has been nothing but a humble, hardworking citizen, and he was arrested for lightly tapping an officer on the shoulder, simply just to get his attention to let him know who the guy that assaulted us was. We are here today because we want these charges dropped immediately. How is this justified? How does this make your police look and your city look? This is not equity and punishment, and as a citizen of Holiday, Newport Richey, Pasco, whatever, I used to live in Newport Richey, but I live in Holiday now. But I hope you can understand our concerns. Please hear us out and get these charges dropped. Thank you.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these rights, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, the government are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, the people. I just wanted to read that paragraph to give us all a refresher of the Constitution and of the Declaration of Independence. And I will say this, and then I'm going to sit down. The last time I was in this meeting, we had a moment of silence for John Lewis. John Lewis is my hero. What we're doing in the city of Newport Richey is making good trouble. We don't come with violence. We don't come with anger. We don't come with hate. We come with love. That's why this is disturbing, and that's why this hurts. I wasn't even going to speak today, but to sit there and watch the city councilman smirk while this woman is telling her story that was not recorded when it happened. I have nothing else to say.